All right, guys, let's try this again. Do you all ever have those days where just no matter what you do, technology fails you? That's what's happening today. We went live. You all probably saw me walk on the screen for 2 seconds, and then we weren't live. We have no idea why. But we're here now. It looks like we're good. I still see that we're live. And so fingers crossed that technology cooperates once again right now. But guys, we have an interesting setup as we get into this afternoon and this evening. We've kind of been monitoring things, watching model data, watching the environment, and keeping an eye on this setup today. And as we've been watching it, we felt the need to kind of ramp up the verbiage a little bit in terms of potential strong storms across the lower Ohio Valley as we work into late this afternoon and especially into this evening, and a couple of tornadoes being possible. Now, I do want to emphasize, I don't think this is a widespread severe weather risk. I don't think it's one of those severe weather risks where the entire state is going to get severe weather, multiple states. I think it's a relatively narrow corridor, a relatively narrow window of opportunity. But what we do have here is a warm front that's draped across the area, and it's lifting to the north right now. And as it happens, we're actually starting to see some clearing. We've got some sunshine peeking out across southern parts of Indiana. You can see that down near Louisville, down near Evansville, and so that's building the instability in the atmosphere. And historically speaking, when we get these warm fronts to move in with just enough instability, just enough wind energy, we can see supercell thunderstorms pop up, and we can see tornado risk. And again, sometimes they're in these risk days that, again, aren't so widespread, but they can produce these sneaky tornado events. So I definitely think that we need to be paying very close attention to the radar as we work into this evening. So again, guys, warm front kind of draped across the area. If we scroll down, you can actually see some sunshine in the warm sector. What we'll need to watch here over the next couple of hours, cumulus clouds building in this area. That'll kind of be bubbling up down here and then pushing to the north as the warm front lifts to the north. We can actually look at temperatures too, guys, and take a look. Let me go back there. Here we go. We can take a look at the temperatures, and you can kind of see the stark differences right now. We're 65, 66, 67 just north of I-70, but if we scroll down here into southern Indiana, click near Evansville, we're around 80 degrees. And so 15-degree temperature difference from the Ohio River up towards the I-70 corridor, and it's as this warmer air lifts north is when we can start to fire off some storms and see the potential for severe weather. Here's just a general overview of what to look for. So it's this orange area. As the warm front lifts to the north, that's where we're concerned as storms fire off, especially between the 5 to 10 p.m. time frame this evening, that a couple of these storms could produce tornadoes. Now, I don't think everybody sees severe weather in here. I think it's kind of a scatter type of a storm evening. It's going to be hit or miss in nature, so if you're in this orange area, I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to see a tornado warning or that you're even going to see a storm, but I think that a couple of storms are going to bubble up in here, and they have the potential to be severe. In addition to a couple of tornadoes, I think that there's the potential for some large hail, maybe damaging winds, but this area in here is where the risk is increasing right now for perhaps a couple of tornadoes. We're going to use the synopticwx.com platform here to kind of time this out for you as these storms fire off as we get throughout the evening hours today. I will turn our time on in the top right, so it's super easy there for you all to see. This will be an Eastern time in the top right, and this is as we work into the rest of the afternoon. What starts to happen, especially towards about 5, 6 o'clock, we start to get these storms to kind of bubble up here just to the south of the Indy area, Bloomington, Terre Haute, Sullivan, down through here. But you can see it's a little bit more scattered in nature. But what I do think is that a couple of these cells that fire off, you can see here, will have the capability of rotating and potentially dropping a tornado. Now, I also wouldn't be shocked if there's a little bit more storm activity further down here to the south than what this model is indicating. I'm going to show you another model here in a moment that sees it a little bit better and is more aggressive. And then as we work further on into the evening, guys, you can see here that these storms begin to push further off to the east. So this is at about 11 p.m. This is 11 p.m. Eastern. We're getting these storms to kind of push to the north and to the east, and they'll start to work into an environment that's not quite as favorable for storm activity. And then you can see through the overnight hours, this is by about 2 a.m. activity beginning to wane. Now I'm going to go to a different model here, guys, and I'm going to show you a slightly more aggressive solution. And so this is the latest run of the HRRR. This is 5 o'clock, this is 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. You can see a little bit more storm activity a little bit further south by 6, 7 o'clock. And then things really begin to pop off as we work towards 8, 9, 10, and 11 o'clock here. Now, personally, I think this may be a little bit too widespread. And I do think that when the storms initially pop off, they have a little bit better chance to rotate versus when they get into this messy cluster. But from Bloomington to Columbus, down towards Louisville, maybe as far south as Evansville, when those cells initially develop in that 5 to 10 p.m. time frame, and they're a little bit more single cell nature, that is where we will need to monitor for the potential for some rotation. And so guys, again, 5 to 10 p.m. time frame, this general area as these storms fire off is where we are going to need to monitor things. Not necessarily going to be a widespread line of storms that sweeps through. Not everybody's going to see storms in here, but where they do fire off initially, they will have the potential to see an isolated severe storm or two, maybe an isolated tornado or two. Now, I will say that as they work kind of towards Johnson County, Morgan County, Marion County, Shelby County in here, as they push further off to the north, they get a little bit messier, they lose a little bit of that better forcing, and I think your threat is lower the further north and the closer to I-70 in central Indiana that you go. So guys, with that being said, I will take a couple of questions in here, and we can see how we can help some folks as we get into the rest of this evening. I will say, guys, I believe that the NOAA weather radios are still out in central Indiana right now. I think I saw a couple of comments of people saying those are still out. If you don't have a good way to get warnings as we get into this evening, get this Clarity Home package, $99 for the year. I think that comes out to like 27 cents a day or something crazy like that. I probably spend more money at Starbucks myself in a month than what this costs for the whole year. And that's going to get you our nowcast. So our meteorologists will be sending out more specific impactful weather updates as we get throughout the evening for any kind of impactful weather and push it directly to your device. You'll have location-specific notifications for severe weather. This will be a great way if you're just looking for something basic to be able to get you through these severe weather events. This Clarity Home platform will be an awesome way to do that. You can go to bamwx.com/claritypackages to sign up for that, or if you're in the agriculture industry or you own a business, run an organization, run a sporting or an outdoor event, you can do a trial of our business or our ag packages. With that being said, yeah, what questions do we have, Hope?
Any watches you anticipate?
Perhaps. I'm not sure if they will do a watch or not, just because it's not that widespread of a threat, if you will. This is, in the grand scheme of things, this is a relatively narrow corridor. It wouldn't shock me, I'd say maybe 50-50, but there's really no way to know for sure what they'll do. I think it may be worth it, but whether they actually pull the trigger or not remains to be seen.
McCormick's Creek area, there's a school on a field trip there. If you think anything's going to hit them?
Could potentially, yeah, but I think that, it depends on when it is. The higher threat will be especially 5 to 10 p.m. time frame. The further north you go could be more like 8, 9, 10 o'clock. So it just kind of depends on when you're going to be out and about.
Northeast Ohio?
Northeast Ohio, you should be okay. I'll show you the simulated radar, but you look at Northeast Ohio here, you can see all the activity further down to the south and to the west. You should be okay. You might get a couple of showers and storms as we work into the pre-dawn hours tomorrow.
Do you see this shifting any north at all?
Perhaps. Some of the latest trends here try to take it a little bit more to the north, but this is by 11 p.m. and by this time you're kind of losing a little bit of that instability. So if it does, it wouldn't be much. I would not anticipate this ticking north of Indy. I really think Greenwood is probably the furthest north that this is going to go. And again, I still think that the further south you are here, and if I had to circle an area of highest risk, this kind of area in here, as these storms really fire off, may be the highest potential if I even had to narrow the forecast down a little bit more.
Terre Haute, and can you repeat the question? People can't hear me, so.
Oh, okay. So let's see. Northeast Ohio, you asked about Northeast Ohio, some rain showers overnight. McCormick's Creek, yeah, you could get a couple of storms, but I don't know if it's worth canceling the field trip. It kind of depends on when it is. The later into the evening that you go, the higher the coverage will likely be. Earlier in the evening, it'll be a little bit more isolated in nature. I don't remember the other question, so.
Going forward, Terre Haute.
Terre Haute, yeah, so Terre Haute, guys, you can see here certainly at play for some scattered storms as early as 6, 7, 8 o'clock. But again, you're kind of on the northern edge. I would say Sullivan, maybe a slightly higher threat than Terre Haute, because by the time the storms really get going up near Terre Haute, it's 11 p.m. And I think at that point, storms may be weakening a little bit.
Are you able to scoop synoptic over at all? People can't really see the timing in the left hand. Or
Yeah, let me see what I can do, guys. Let me see what I can do, and we'll keep answering some questions as we go along.
A couple of questions in there about Bloomington area.
Let's see here. How about that? Let's see. It'll take a moment. It'll take a moment, but there we go. Now you can see the time.
Yeah, much better.
So Bloomington?
Yep,
Bloomington, 5 to 10 p.m. You're going to be right in that 5 to 10 p.m. time frame for the highest threat. This is midnight. You could still get some storms, and this may be a touch slow. The sim radar, if anything, it may be a touch slow, but I think 5 to 10 p.m. is your highest threat window. And again, that's the more aggressive solution. Here's a different model. It's the ARW, which is maybe a little bit faster, guys, and maybe a little bit more realistic in terms of activity not being quite as widespread. Maybe a little bit too far north. I wouldn't be shocked if these storms fire off a county or two south, Lawrence County, Bedford, Salem, Seymour, kind of in there, and then lift to the north. But again, 5 to 10 p.m. for all of those areas, that's going to be the scattered storm threat. It's not going to be a line and a widespread line. And so it's why it's critical this evening to, have a way to get warnings, because it's not going to be one defined line. It's not going to be one specific time for anyone, because it is going to be scattered in nature.
Travis has a question about the cutoff low potential this weekend.
Oh, the cutoff low potential. Let's not get into that right now. We will have some Derby forecast updates coming over the next couple of days. That's Oaks and Derbies down in Louisville this weekend. The cutoff low potential, that's for another live stream. We can talk more about that later. It could potentially linger some messy showers, I will say, later into the weekend, especially the further south and east that you go.
I have a few questions in here about high. I know today's probably not the opportunity, but tomorrow potential.
Sure. Let's go over to the Clarity platform here, and we will take a look at the daily insight. And I know the team drew a map this morning, and we can kind of take a look here at the strong to severe storm potential for Thursday. So guys, here's a look at the potential for Thursday. So possible, again, not necessarily a super widespread severe weather risk, but could have a couple of strong to severe storms as we get into tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. I think biggest threat wind, 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts possible, perhaps some isolated large hail, and not a huge tornado risk, but it's non-zero. It's a non-zero tornado risk tomorrow. Really, this covers most of the state of Ohio, but it will cover much of Kentucky, the southern half of Indiana as well. And again, a lot of activities going down in Louisville, going on down here in Louisville over the next couple of days with Oaks and Derby festivities. So that's something to keep in mind. We'll be dodging storms as we get into tomorrow afternoon in that area.
New ones popping up.
All right, guys. Real quick, I will go back over here to our map. Want to be sure to give a shout out to 811 Dig. Today is the last day of April, so it is the last day of National Safe Dig Month. And so just keep in mind that if there's any severe weather that you deal with and damage over the next couple of days, to be sure to use that free 811 Dig number to make sure that you are getting your utilities marked and making sure that you are practicing safe digging practices, if you will. And so, again, just want to be sure to give them a shout out and thank them for working with us to support that safe initiative and recognize the last day of the Safe Dig Month in April.
Question about Friday evening, any chance of showers, storms then?
Sure, we can, let's take a look here at some of the latest data. I'll scroll down. I do think that there's probably going to be some lingering activity as we work into Friday. From what I remember earlier, again, it's likely not going to be super widespread, but some messy rain showers, especially down across Kentucky, going to be possible. Could cause some issues with the oaks. They'll run in that. And you can see here the front kind of slides through across central Indiana as we work into Friday night, leading to some additional rain showers. But it's messy, and I don't think it's a huge severe weather risk at this point. All right, guys, with that being said, we'll monitor things as we get into this afternoon and this evening. Be sure to like this, share this, tag it with a friend. Go follow us on our YouTube channel at BAM Weather. We'll be posting updates there as well, especially over the next couple of months as we get into summer. We look at potential drought risk, so that'll be something to keep an eye on. And until then, Clarity Home, $99 a year. To get all of our forecast updates, our videos, our push alerts, our location-specific alerts to keep you safe during these severe weather events. Scan the QR code in the top left. Hope is putting the link there in the comments. We'd love to have you on board. I know that there are a lot of people that really enjoy that subscription, and so go check it out. Or again, if you're in the agriculture industry, you farm, try out our Clarity Ag package, or if you're a business, try out our Clarity Business package, free for 7 days. Guys, that's all that we have for now. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, share this stream, like it, tag a friend, and we will chat with you soon.